Welcome back to the Gallowgateshots YouTube channel. My name is Matthew. Thank you for being here for another episode of Beyond the Lines. It's the show where we get an opposition supporter's view when it comes to previewing Newcastle's next game. Now on Wednesday, 8 o'clock, St James's Park, we're playing in a game that some people are calling the Mike Hooper Derby. Yes, Newcastle have the menial task of taking on the champions Liverpool, and to help me preview this one, I'm joined by a big Liverpool supporter, a contributor to the LFCDaytrippers Podcast. It's the beautiful, it's the brilliant Gav. How are you doing, mate?
I'm very good. Christmas has been good. It's been quiet, but lots of football to watch and enjoy, unless you're an Everton or a Man City fan. It's been really good. And look, it's a tight schedule, isn't it, for all Premier League teams, I suppose. But for us supporters, it's great watching our team every 2 and 3 days.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you're doing as well as you guys are doing. I'm not so sure about us being so happy about having to watch what we're doing at the moment. But a lot of football, and you know, it is a sort of silver line about the current times and stuff. Before we get into the game, mate, we'll just talk a little bit about Liverpool. I mean, you guys, obviously, it's been well publicised. Won your first title in 30 years last season. And you know, you've got the business of defending it this season. Bit of a two-part question, mate. I mean, was it a bit sweet for you at all to not, be part of it, not have fans in the stadium? And B, how have you found this season with retaining the title, the chances of retaining the title?
Well, I suppose when you looked at last season, you know, and even going back to the season before, Liverpool were sensational, to be honest. You know, they do 97 points in the league. I think that would have won you the league every year bar 2, I think, since the Premier League started. I think maybe Chelsea and City have put up a higher points total over those years. And we go on and win the European Cup deservedly, and we didn't want to come out of that season with nothing, because we literally were, I thought we were absolutely amazing. Going into last season, you know, you're looking at Man City, and you know, the only question mark over them was they've won 2 titles on the bounce, 100 points and 98 points, and could they go again? And it proved that they couldn't last season. But I think a lot of that was down to Liverpool. The start Liverpool made was just outrageous, to be perfectly honest. You know, people will point towards Liverpool only getting 99 points last season. I think it was majorly hampered by the fact that COVID arrives in March and put a stop to football for 3-4 months, and Liverpool would have easily gone over 100 points if the season had finished properly, I suppose, and within the time frame that was allotted. Probably May 17th, I think, was due to be the last league game of the season. But bittersweet, yes, absolutely, because you know, it was 30 years since the league title. There were so many false dawns. Some around the time when Kevin Keegan was manager of Newcastle in the mid-90s. You have 2009 with Rafa Benitez. You have 2013-14 under Brendan Rodgers. And, of course, you have Jurgen Klopp in 18-19. But it was bittersweet. I can tell you, I live in Dublin. I get over as much as I possibly can to Liverpool to watch the team, and I was booked in for the last weekend of the season. Hotels, flights, you name it, and there was everyone I knew seemed to be gone. So when that was cancelled, it was bittersweet. But at the end of the day, we had to wait a couple of extra months. It was never going to be called off, was it? It was never going to be null and voided. No. But you know, when it came around to it, I had to settle for a pub in Dublin to watch it because of travel restrictions and whatever else. And yeah, it was brilliant though. It was 30 years without a title, and it was one of those where it was a big monkey off our back. With regards to this season, it's so different. It is so different. You know, it's a shortened, it's a compressed season. You have got the COVID issue still hanging over us with regards to fans, with regards to player. You know, you have to be in these bubbles, and of course, a couple of our players have got it and being missing. Then you have injuries compiling stuff because it is some of the injuries, I suppose. Virgil van Dijk notably was in game, but you know, you're going to get injuries, you're going to get muscle injuries. So it's a bit strange defending it, because all things being equal, I'd be ultra confident. I'm still confident, but it's one of those seasons where you just don't know what's going to come next. You don't know if a couple of players are going to be out with COVID. You don't know if a couple are going to go down with muscle injuries, and it's going to be a very, very strange season until it eventually finishes. Yeah,
I totally agree. I mean, that could even add to, you know, if you do go on to do it, it's seen as maybe just an extra sort of bit of praise, really. The words like, you know, you've turned it and in this season, but we're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit. We'll see what you guys end up doing. But I mean, you've mentioned Virgil van Dijk there. Just to talk about the squad a little bit. I mean, when we saw him coming to Liverpool along with Alisson, we saw that was literally the last pieces of the puzzle, really, because I mean, you know, you had shaky keepers, and you know, the centre half wasn't right yet, and they changed the game, and now you're missing Virgil van Dijk. However, you're still top of the tree at Christmas. You're 3 points clear with the game in hand. You know, do you still feel his absence is going to hinder you somewhere down the line in terms of retaining the title?
Look, when he gets injured away at Everton, you're absolutely fearing the worst of the season, because he's that good. He genuinely is that good. Like, Jurgen Klopp has a brilliant record in transfers at Liverpool. You know, when you look at the price he's paid for the likes of Mo Salah at 35 million, Mane in around the same. Of course, Firmino was there, but Fabinho, when you go through Andy Robertson at 8 million, it's phenomenal that the success he's had as a Liverpool manager with transfers. Very few of them have been misses, a lot have been hits. You're right what you say. Alisson and Virgil van Dijk were the two blockbuster ones, because he's seen what was wrong at centre back, and he's seen what was wrong in goal, and he just made them decisions and went for them. When he gets injured, you do fear the worst, and then Joe Gomez is out for the season shortly afterwards, because Virgil van Dijk is so good. He's so good, and he's so important not only to the defensive side of a game, but the attacking side of a game, because his range of passing is outrageous at times. And I did think it would hinder us. I thought it would bring us back into the pack a little bit, and it probably has. We've had to mix and match at centre back with Fabinho, with Reece Williams, with Nat Phillips. Of course, Gomez goes out. Matip seems to come in and then is gone again. You know, so it's been to be top of the league, I suppose, now, like you said, with 3 points ahead is a little bit of a miracle, to be honest with you, because, you know, all teams have faced adversity, I suppose, with regards to everything that's going on. But when you look at when Liverpool finished the season last season, the four centre halves they had was Van Dijk, Gomez, Matip, and Lovren. Not one of them are available for Liverpool right now today. And we haven't brought a centre back in. So yeah, I was worried when Virgil van Dijk goes down, but I think Liverpool have showed a decent resilience, and there's a chance of him coming back before the end of the season, which was remarkable for me. If he appears at the end of March and Liverpool are in with a chance, I think the chances go through the roof for us.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I thought the same. I thought when he was gone, I thought I think, like you said, we'd be dragged into the pack. You didn't think your title chances were gone or anything. But I think, you know, credit to the players that have came in, and, you know, you've had to mix and match and you've still managed to get results. But it does help that we're having a bit of a crazy season, and everyone seems to be picking points off everyone else, barring, you know, Sheffield United. So there has been you've had quite a few draws, but then a lot of people have got defeats. And I think that's probably what's found you at the top of the league now. We talk a lot about Liverpool. We always have to talk about the front three. We know all about them: Salah, Mane, Firmino. Your full-backs are obviously integral to the way you play, with assists from Trent and Robertson. But I mean, if I may, and I might get some stick for this because he's a Mackham, Jordan Henderson. How influential would you say he's been to your recent success? Because he has had his plaudits, don't get me wrong, but I still feel like some people don't have that much respect for him in terms of his playing ability and what he brings. Because I watched him the other night, and the Palace game in particular, and I thought he was absolutely tremendous. And I feel like his leadership and his technical ability on the ball is massive to the way you guys play.
Jordan Henderson splits opinion between the Liverpool fan base. You know, some people have a habit of, when it comes to Liverpool players, taking sides. You're either anti-Henderson or you're pro-Henderson. You can't be in between. I try to be in between. I value Jordan Henderson for the person he is, first and foremost, because from all accounts, he's exceptional around the club at everything he does. He holds everyone to a really, really high standard. You've seen him on the Sports Personality of the Year the week before last, I think, and he was talking about the captains during COVID and getting together and stuff like that, and he was a big part of that. So as a person, I think he's absolutely top notch. I genuinely do. He's had a strange career at Liverpool. He arrives under Dalglish in 2011, I think, and he's kind of played out on the right, and then he kind of comes to the fore in 13-14, where he's box to box, and he's playing in this diamond, and he chips in with a few goals and assists and stuff, and then of course he gets the captaincy, and you know, everyone was like, he was the perfect candidate at the time, simply because the makeup of the squad taken over from Steven Gerrard is a near impossible task. But I think over the last couple of years, I've been critical of Jordan Henderson at times, but right now, and I'm not afraid to say it, he's probably on, for me, one of the first 2 names, possibly 3 names on the team sheet every week, because I think Liverpool are badly affected when he doesn't play. And people will point out, is he creative enough? Is he this? Is he that? You can pick apart any stat you want, and you can watch a game whatever way you want. But the thing for me, what Jordan Henderson does best is not as a deep line midfielder. I think he's good at it. He's improved since he was playing that position, went away from it when Fabinho was there, and then came back. He absolutely learned, I think, from Fabinho and what he done, and he implemented his game on this Liverpool side when Fabinho was out. I think he's best in a number 8, playing in the midfield 3 off the right, and he helps Trent so much, and he lets Salah cheat. And what I mean by that is he lets Salah stay up the pitch. He says to Salah, you go up there and stand against their centre-back if their full-back wants to come down towards us. And when we win it back, you're one-on-one with a centre-back. And Salah's got so many goals and so many assists and so many openings from that. Jordan Henderson will go down as for me, one of the top captains for Liverpool Football Club. And I can't say any higher. I can't give him any higher accolade than that, because when you look back through the captains we've had, it's a serious list. But he's so important to this team. He really is. Thiago's come in. Wijnaldum is just a machine, but he's out of contract in the end of the summer. You've got Naby Keita that appears every now and then, but Fabinho will go back into midfield when centre backs are found from somewhere. But I would have him in my team every single day of the week, not only for his football ability, for his football intelligence, but for the levels he holds and the standards he holds these players to. I think is vitally important.
Yeah, he's certainly very vocal. You hear that with take the crowd noise away, all you can hear is Jordan Henderson. He's he's not a very madly spoken man. Few apologies from Sky from every game I've watched. I just feel like he's a very important player. I mean, people have had his plaudits and rightly so, but I just feel like you say he splits opinion quite a lot. And I was wondering just, what you thought, and obviously you give us the answer there. And one other player I would bring up just briefly, young Curtis Jones. What have you made of his rise to starting in the starting 11?
Well, look, I have to be perfectly honest with regards to Curtis Jones. When I seen him forced for Liverpool in pre-season friendlies, I didn't think he'd make it at Liverpool. I thought he was, guys on the LFCDaytrippers that actually know people that have coached Curtis Jones tell us that he was always way ahead of the class, so to speak. He was that good. When I watched him, though, I felt that if you get a chance under Klopp, especially in a pre-season friendly or a tour to America, or it was a tour to America, I think they were on at the time. Well, excuse me. What I found with him was Klopp likes you to express yourself, but you need to do the basics very, very well. And what I mean by that is you need to work hard for the team. You need to be in good shape. You need to be willing to, cut off passing lanes. And when you're on the ball, if there's a simple pass to play to exploit the other side, do it. But I didn't think Curtis Jones was doing that. I thought he was overplaying for himself a little bit. He was ignoring overlapping fullbacks, which is just not done at Liverpool now. If Andy Robertson is gone, you're giving him it. That's how it works. And I felt that he was a really, really talented player, but I didn't know if he'd get the philosophy of Liverpool and get the way Jurgen Klopp wants to play. He has come on leaps and bounds. I think the fact that he wasn't loaned out was huge for him, along with a couple of other players that were held around the squad over the last 18 months or so and shown, you have the ability, but you need to learn and you need to educate yourself on the way we want to play. And he doesn't get a lot of first team football, but he's always watching. He's always involved. He's always part of this, the not the match day squad, but the larger Premier League squad, I suppose. And he's come on leaps and bounds. He's a very, very talented footballer. He's really good in tight areas. He floats past people. If he gets on a roll, he floats past people. Good range of passing, good eye for a pass. And, I think he's probably a year ahead of his schedule. And that's probably down to circumstance because we have missed players. But Curtis Jones has taken the opportunity and grabbed it with both hands. And I said this a couple of weeks ago. If he continues what he's doing, I think he will make Jurgen Klopp's mind up on a couple of other midfielders at Liverpool. They won't be here come the end of the season. That's how fast he's risen. Having said that, he wasn't good the other night for me. And we've praised him. We've showered him with praise over the last probably month to 6 weeks because of his performance. And quite rightly so. He's a very young man playing in possibly the best team in Europe. And he wasn't good the other night. And, he's taken a bit of stick, but I've no problem with that. I think that aids his development more than any good performance he has. He needs to take the good with the bad. And if he takes the bad as well as he takes the good, he'll be absolutely fine. But he's absolutely one to watch over the next... this season, but I think next season he's absolutely one to watch.
Yeah, I mean, he has had some really exciting performances. I mean, I remember watching his, I don't know if it was his debut, but when he got given the captaincy, he was against Everton in the FA Cup, and he score the winner that game?
He did, yeah. They put out a lot of young kids, and he scores the winner, yeah.
Yeah, he has, obviously, he's caught the eye since then. I mean, I did watch the game the other night, and you said about ignoring overlapping fullbacks and not playing that easy pass. There was a couple of times where I thought he did try to play for himself a little bit, a few chops when he shouldn't have, but other than that, I think he's been a really impressive talent so far. We'll see if he starts on Wednesday. And speaking of Wednesday, of course, we're here to speak about Newcastle versus Liverpool. Before we do get there, mate, I always ask this question. Newcastle versus Liverpool, St James's Park. We won't talk about the games at Anfield because I know that there'll be a certain 4-3s that will come up and it'll just, PTSD and all that. In terms of games at St James's Park, mate, is there any sort of memories that come into mind for you?
When you emailed me yesterday or maybe the day before about this, and you said, well, let's not talk about the Anfield. So I was quite happy with that because everyone goes to, isn't it 95, 96 and 96, 97.
4-3.
And there were two outrageous games of football. The first one in particular was just off the charts. It's still the best Premier League game I've ever seen. Mm-hmm. But when I thought about St James's Park, there's a lot of mixed emotions. I think in the fourth league season, Newcastle in the Premier League, I think Andy Cole scores a hat-trick. And I think it might have been snowing that day. Or really, really cold anyway. But I'm nearly sure he gets a hat-trick. I think Robillard in goal. But I remember seeing, at James's Park, you had McManaman getting 2 in a 2-1 win in the late 90s. And it was 2 brilliant goals he got as well. There's a lot of mixed emotions. Steve Watson seemed to turn up all the time and get a winning goal somewhere.
He scored it for Anfield.
Yeah. We go there when we're flying. I think Rafa is in charge of Newcastle, and it's a 1-1 draw. 13-14, of course. We go there, and it's 2-2 draw, I think. And Liverpool are expected to win that day. We've had some great days there. 08, 09, Shea Given puts in a performance for the first 40-odd minutes, which is outrageous. And Liverpool are like, we're not going to score. I think we end up winning a 5-1 in the end. Yeah. And I was trying to think of the Newcastle goal scorer the other day. I think he makes
David Edgar.
Yes, very good. But Liverpool, we've had that. I think we might have won 6 up there at one stage as well.
Yeah,
of course, there's another big one where Henderson scores, doesn't he? And Liverpool run riot at St James's Park, and Sturridge is involved, Coutinho's involved as well.
6-0.
Yeah, it was a really good performance. But there has been days where you turn up at Newcastle, and if you're not on it, you're in trouble. And I think the crowd kills them. I think as much as Newcastle fans have this thing with Mike Ashley, and quite rightly so, in my opinion, they'll always get behind the team. And if they get a sniff of a chance in a game, or they feel like they've momentum, it's a very, very loud place to be, But just St James's Park, I always approach these games where it's still St James's Park and Newcastle at home. And listen, they haven't been the best over the last couple of seasons. Anyone can see that. But on their day, they can give anyone a game. We've seen them give. Jose Mourinho couldn't beat them, couldn't he? Not?
Yeah,
he couldn't win away at Newcastle, and they've turned over Man United at times. They've taken some big scalps at St James's Park, and I always approach this one with get out of there, just get out of there with a win, because anything can happen. It really is, and it's two teams where not so much Liverpool now. You kind of know what to expect with Liverpool, but with Newcastle, you don't know what's going to turn up. They could sit back and get beaten 3. Or they could pick you off and beat you 2-1, and you could walk away going, how did we lose that? But yeah, mixed emotions at St James's Park, and I'm sure if you spoke to me in 5 years' time, I'll give you the exact same answer.
Yeah, I mean, just honourable mention, I have to say some ones that mind. I mean, we had Alan Pardew's first game against Liverpool, 3-1. I remember Andy Carroll scoring, and he ended up leaving. Months later to you guys. Rafa's last home game of the season. Rafa's last home game in Newcastle in charge. In general, we lost 3-2. It was when you guys were still fighting for the title, and you scored right at the end. But I'll always remember that game because me and my dad went that game, and we gave Liverpool a good game, and it looked like Rafa was starting to expand this football, this everyone was saying it was defensive, negative football, but he started going at teams, and we gave as good as we got that day. And then one funny one always for me is the 2-0 when Jose Enrique ended up in goal for you guys.
Yes,
that was a lovely day for us because it was
mixed emotions.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, there's a lot of memories there, mate. But we move on to the actual game happening on Wednesday. You didn't do too great against West Brom. I mean, it was one of those games where, you just didn't take chances, or chances on target were few and far between. And, Sam Allardyce, classic Sam Allardyce, if you want to say that. Klopp said that there's going to be an angry Liverpool in the next game. So do you expect a reaction? And really, did Newcastle have any sort of chance against an angry Liverpool side?
I don't know if angry. If he's used the word angry, I'm a little bit surprised.
Yeah, it was something along those lines. I might be
misquoted. Yeah, because usually just Liverpool do this when they're winning, or they very rarely lose. I know that, but when they're winning, they don't get too high. And what I mean by that is they if you speak to Jordan Henderson after any game where Liverpool have won, he'll tell you, well, we're just on the next one now. Mm-hmm. We're not thinking 4 or 5 down the road. We're thinking of the next one. We're now, that one's over. We're concentrating on this one. And that's something that's served them well, I suppose, over the last, especially 2 to 3 years. I do expect a reaction from Liverpool. And the reason being, because I don't think there's a team, possibly in world football, that reacts better to some sort of adversity than Liverpool. And I think that's shown over the last couple of seasons. If they draw a game, they feel like they've lost and they have to go out and make amends for it. If they lose, it's doubly so. It's just a mentality they have. And it's one that Klopp has instilled in them over the last 5 years since he's been at the club, where if they feel, not even that they feel they've been wronged, if they feel they haven't put in the effort, like Liverpool will come out after that West Brom game and hold their hands up and go, we weren't good enough. They'll say West Brom got exactly what they needed because they done A, B, and C, and we didn't do where A, B, and C is. So they're quite upfront about when they're good, and they'll just tunnel vision to the next one. And when they're bad, they'll come out and say, hold their hands up and say, not good enough. If you look at Fulham a couple of weeks ago, Jordan Henderson said we weren't good enough for the first 45 minutes, and it cost us in the end. So they're very honest about what they are. If you think Liverpool won't react on Wednesday, I think it's a bit naive, because I do expect Liverpool to come out and try right what is genuinely a wrong from the last game, because Liverpool should be beating West Brom at home. It's as simple as that. They fell into a trap for me, because after 25 minutes, the game went into a pattern where West Brom wanted us to go wide and put the ball in the box, and that's what we done for 94 minutes, more or less. So yeah, I think there will be a reaction from Liverpool. Do Newcastle have a chance? Absolutely. In this league, everyone has a chance in every game, simply because of the way this league is. It's just the way it is. Like you said earlier, everyone's taking points off everyone. It's a condensed season. Anything can happen. You're going to see odd results every now and then, West Brom being one of those. So yeah, Newcastle absolutely have a chance, but they will have to be on it from the first minute right until the last whistle. If they turn off 2 or 3 times in this game, Liverpool will score 2 or 3 times, because that's what Liverpool do to you.
I'm a massive pessimist, mate. So I mean, I'm glad you've given me a little bit of optimism, but it won't be lasting very long. I know if you've watched Newcastle a lot this season. I mean, we obviously tried to do similar to what West Brom did to you guys in your previous game, but what the difference is with Steve Bruce sets up his players, we still afford the opposition shots on target. I mean, that first half of the West Brom game, he's only had 1 shot on target. Everything else was, headers and long-range shots. I feel like he's going to be afforded a lot of chances. It doesn't matter how we set up. I mean, the Man City game, they didn't even get a first gear in the 1-2-0. Pretty much handed it to them. So I think he probably played Newcastle at a very good time at this moment in time. Not to get too down on my team, but it does make me nervous, the fact that it's going to be a Liverpool team looking for a reaction against a Newcastle team who are just on a downward spiral at the moment. But if I could ask you for a prediction, mate, what you going for scoreline-wise?
It's always a tough one to call, this one. I really do. Like you said, you've mentioned the 3-2. If you look at, we played the last game of last season up at St James's Park as well. 2-1, I think Liverpool win. Maybe 3-1.
Yeah. We scored in the first 10 seconds or something.
Yeah, Dwight Gale. And Dwight Gale haunts my dreams at times. This one, I'd have to see it's hard until you see the lineup, to be honest. I expect Alisson to play, Trent, Robertson, Fabinho will play, and it's possibly looking like young Reece Williams will play centre back, and that's something Newcastle may look to expose. You know, whether it's Joe Linton or whether he could put Carroll up again. I don't know what he's going to do. He could put Dwight Gale in there for pace. Of course, Callum Wilson usually has a decent game against Liverpool. In fairness to him, the midfield will probably pick itself. Thiago is due back. He's due to be in the squad, so I can see him possibly being on the bench, but. For me, I think the one that's going to look to make amends for the other night is probably Mohamed Salah. I don't think he was at his best, and an angry Mohamed Salah can be dangerous. But I think both teams will score. I think if I was a betting man, I'd put on both teams to score simply because of the little bit of inexperience at the back for Liverpool and the fact they're away from home. But I'm going to go for 3-1 Liverpool. Because like you said, I think Newcastle look a bit frail at the moment. I think they are offering up chances. But Liverpool will need to do different to what they've done against West Brom. Liverpool fell into a pattern. Liverpool will need to change things up because Newcastle aren't going to come out and in their face. They're going to sit and say, what can you do? And try pushes wide. Liverpool are going to have to be brave. But I think they'll learn a lesson from West Brom and will be more brave and look to vary what they're going to do going forward. So I'm going to go with a 3-1 Liverpool win, I think.
Fantastic. Well, I'd take scoring a goal, mate. So I'd take 3-1 probably. But I mean, we've talked about it earlier today and a couple of other videos we've done, and I just can't see anything past them. If we can keep it below 4, like I'd be over the moon. Like, you know, this is what I've been beaten into submission now. Watching Newcastle United, it's just a case of let's not get absolutely embarrassed. But
and can I ask you something? Like,
go for it.
When you watch, like you speak about Rafa and was he trying to expand that football, and now you have Steve Bruce. Is it just a case of the players aren't good enough, or is it the tactics, or are they not giving themselves a chance to win games because they're ultra defensive? What is it about Newcastle? Because I am looking at their previous results now, and like they go out with a League Cup, don't they, to Brentford, don't they?
Yeah, chance to get into a semi-final for the first time.
Yeah, and that's big for Newcastle. Yeah. What is it about this side? Because sometimes you can just go, look, they're just not good enough. But I look at that squad and I go, there's some very decent players in that. Is it the tactics? Is it a lack of confidence?
I think it's all of the above, mate, really. I mean, it doesn't help when your manager doesn't know his best starting 11. He's chopped and he's changed. He's went 4-4-2, 3 at the back. He's went 4-3-3 at times. You know, we always say we don't want to make the comparison between Rafa and Bruce because the media like to do it a lot to us. They're like, say, why do you want Bruce out? Because, you know, Rafa does the same football. Difference is Rafa probably had a weaker squad, and we saw a plan. We could see his identity was to have defensive shape, and he's pulling and putting players where he wants them. But then near the end of the season, we started attacking a bit more, and we started scoring goals. We beat Fulham 4-0 on the last day of the season. But we were really, really hard to beat. Steve Bruce has taken that away from. I think we're not hard to beat anymore. I think once we concede one, we'll you know, the rest follow. So I think me personally, I think it's down to the tactics and the manager. The fact that, you know, he doesn't know his best starting 11, and he said in the past, you know, he's not big on his tactics, which, you know, doesn't sound great when you're a football manager. But there is some good players there. But I just feel that, you know, the system we play, it seems to change all the time. That's because Steve Bruce doesn't know his best starting 11, so there's no real identity there, and I think that shows so much week in, week out.
Yeah, because when I look at the squad, like, you know, they have some really decent defenders, and they look a squad that can be like, I suppose if you still had Rafa, you wouldn't be having this conversation, but somebody that could be really well drilled. You know, in the defensive shape, and then they have got players that can influence going forward. Like Almiron is a real bright spark, isn't he? He's pacey. He's real direct. You have got different sort of approaches up front with Carroll, Joe Linton, and Callum Wilson. There's loads there. Matt Ritchie has a really good left foot on him. There's loads there that you could supply and I don't know, be a counter-attacking side maybe, but it looks to me like a squad that could be well drilled, you know, defensively very solid, and then look to progress as they go on. But like you were saying, if you're looking at those players in that squad and they're giving up chances, and your manager's saying he's not really well up on his tactics, it's a little bit worrying, isn't it? Yeah,
very worrying, mate. And, you know, you've got a manager now as well who's when he's being questioned about tactics and stuff, he's sort of just brushing it off and saying that he talks about progress and how he's took us forward, and I really, really fail to see how he has took us forward. It's you know, they're like, we never used to concede that many goals. I think under Rafa in the Premier League, I think we conceded 4 goals twice. You know, this season alone, we've conceded 5 once. You know, we've conceded 5 last season against Leicester, and it just seems like that hard to beat, that rigidity, that well drilledness has been drilled out of them. by somehow. So, but we'll see what happens on Wednesday, mate. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we won't be humbled too much. I mean, you never know. We might get a result, and you'll probably never speak to me again. We'll see what happens.
I wouldn't go that far.
But I appreciate you coming on, mate. Thank you very much for your time. Have a happy New Year. All the best.
Absolutely, same to you. Have a great the rest of the festive season. Enjoy it, and of course, Happy New Year to you and all your listeners. Stay
safe, mate. Thank you very much. Right, well, that's it for another Beyond the Lines. Thank you very much for you guys for watching. Please stay safe over this festive period. Have a happy New Year, and please like, please share, and please subscribe to the Gallowgateshots YouTube channel.